So, for those of you who have not heard, this happened about a few weeks ago, April 7th-ish, as you can see the dates here. There was a thread on Twitter where some Sonic fans were talking about things that were happening in the IDW comics, the Archie comics, you know, just having back and forths as Sonic fans do. You can kind of read it up here. You can find this thread by just following Ken Penders' tweets, and you'll eventually find the source. I'm going to try to make sure I get the full story here because, like I said, I'm not so much out of the loop as I am, like, I'm reading into this the same way a lot of you guys will be too. So, we're going to start around here, where it was brought up that, you know, Sonic SatAM, the initial Deke pitch, had, like, character designs were different, and you had, like, a weird Sally Acorn design there, and stuff like that. And, people start talking to, like, you know, Sally Acorn, blah, blah, blah. Everybody was talking about how, you know, either you like the new design or you don't. Me, I'm more partial to the old school Sally design. I don't really... This new design's fine, but, like, you know, she looked unique and distinct, you know, and then you kind of, I get that they had to Sonic, you know, kind of modernize Sonic her a little bit, and it just, she looks kind of, and it's weird to say bland and generic when you're talking about a Sonic character, but like, can you lower the, oh, the video game music's too loud? Sure. Alright, how's that? That any better for y'all? Okay. I'm not so... Okay. Yeah, I gotta wait. YouTube's a little slow. Okay. So, like I said, this is all based... It's all opinion. Opinions are, you know... There's no such thing as wrong opinion. I personally grew up with the old school Sally Acorn, the one with the, just the vest. And I get that made a lot of people uncomfortable and everything, but she looked distinct, you know? And they kind of, when they took and kind of made her more Sonic designed, she kind of, it feels like she lost something. Also the fact that her face is more roundish now, and she kind of fits more into the Sonic mold, I get it, but like, it didn't do much for me. That happened with almost all the Sonic characters, actually, now I'm looking at it here. The reboot kind of just made them go from the Americanized design to just how they look in the games. But, you know, for better or for worse, it happened, so she looks so sophisticated. So, here we go. They changed, personality from leadership to Dipsy near... Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm only taking this at face value because, again, as you guys know, I collected the Sonic comic books for a long time. Read all of them, but then I think somewhere around the time the infamous Sally slap happened, I've said this a billion times, but around the time the infamous Sally slap happened and I got really upset of what they were doing with the characters and I stopped reading. And I never picked up even after the pre-Genesis wave, the big reboot. So I'm not 100% of what really happened in the comics after I stopped reading. I'm just, again, taking everything at face value. If you guys want to know more about the reboot and the Ken Penders stuff, there are plenty of videos, you know, outlining that stuff. I'm just talking about what was said in this thread here. So the thread continues. Everybody's talking about the designs and this and that, and started talking about relationships between the characters, you know, who was dating who, and how things started getting weird and interesting, love triangles, everything was brought up. And wouldn't you know it, Geoffrey was brought up. And I have a feeling that if you mention Geoffrey on, I don't know, is it Geoffrey or Geoffrey? I think it's a different spelling or pronunciation on that character, the skunk character. It like summons Ken Penders from the abyss. And this comment was brought up while they were talking about, you know, Sonic wasn't able to date certain characters and stuff like that after the mandates and all this. And Ken Penders basically said, the one story I couldn't tell was Sally losing her virginity to Geoffrey. Sonic may be fast, but Geoffrey was faster on the draw in that department. Now, when you really reflect on the comment, there's a lot of things kind of wrong with that comment. It's kind of like it. Okay, hang on. I'm trying to think, what's the best way to word this? I know a lot of people are comparing Ken Penders to J.K. Rowling, and it's like... Can you really compare the two? J.K. Rowling kind of wrote like... And okay, to be fair, I'm gonna... Hang on, everybody, hang on. Hold on. I'm gonna say, to be fair, Ken Penders did do some interesting stories. Whether you think they were bad or good, he kind of did his own thing with the comics. He really went off the deep end with the Knuckles comics, the solo Knuckles comics, where he kind of had free reign. But he's responsible for some of the cool things that we've seen in the earlier Archie comics. I'm going to give him credit where credit is due. Ken Penders is not 100% bad. He did do some creative, maybe not as creative, but he did some interesting things. That's as far as nice things I'm going to say about him. It seems like everything that came after this whole lawsuit with the EA, the Sega, the Sonic Chronicles, the retcon, the characters we all lost. You've seen the videos I've done on it. Everything after that, it has been just a questionable amount of stuff coming from this man, and it's just like, why you do this, Ken Penders? Like, what prompted him to say this? Like, I just want you guys to imagine a situation in which everybody's having a conversation. Let's just say, for example, you guys were... This is something you guys will relate to. Say if you guys were talking about the deeper meaning behind the Son Amy ship, right? You guys are talking about Sonic and Amy, as most Sonic fans do. And I, as a creator of a Sonic-themed media, say... I chimed into your conversation and said, you know... And let's say I created a character called Horseface McDogpants. Horseface McDogpants. And during that run, I said, hey, guys, I know you're talking about Sonic and Amy right now, but I made a story, and in my story, I wanted to write where Horseface McDogpants basically got to Amy Rose first, before Sonic did. And that was going to be a story that I was planning on writing. It's like... Why bring it up? Why? Why? You know, it's like... The comment itself could have been worded even better, you know, like, maybe say something along the lines of, you know, maybe, hey, I wanted to write a story in which Geoffrey and Sally were dating and they got, you know, don't even bring that part up. Just say, like, maybe I wanted to have a story where they got into a deep relationship, you know, something like that, where they dated off to the side. Don't have to bring that kind of stuff to the forefront, you know? Because it's like, you know, there's... yeah. You may notice I'm having a hard time forming words here, but it like I said before, there's many things wrong here. There is the fact that no one asked him anything about this. This didn't need to be brought up, and the fact that some people are saying, and I'm forgetting actually if this is true or not, that there was a noticeable age difference between Sally and Geoffrey at the time, where Sally was underage and supposed to be like 16, and Geoffrey was 20 or something, right? So we're not even gonna add to the fact that, like, that's statutory, even if it's consent. I know in certain parts of the world the age of consent is younger and stuff like that, but we're strictly talking about, for me anyway, I live in the US, and in certain parts of the US I know it's younger, but like where I live, the age of consent is 18, and anything under that is a big no-no, and you probably shouldn't do that. But it gets deeper. It gets much deeper, and as you can see the comments afterwards, everyone disliked that. It's like, maybe don't bring that up. And he kind of starts digging himself into a deeper hole with comments such as this, where, you know, there are some states here in the U.S. where a 13-year-old can marry someone in their 40s. The repugnant reality is Sally was 16 and Geoffrey's 20, so I don't see a problem given the relationship in royal history. Again, maybe stop at the first comment, and, you know, it kind of feels like that Simpsons bit where, you know, they're like digging a hole, and then you hear like one of the characters say, "No, dig up, stupid." Like, don't keep digging the hole. quit while you're ahead or quit while you're behind in this case, right? And it's like, we didn't need to go further down this hole, but there it is. And it's like, hey, he's not wrong, but at the same time, stop. Stop. In the name of love. Right? Link the Hero of Minish said Sally was 16. Geoffrey. I keep saying Jeffrey, like Jeffrey the Giraffe from Toys R Us, who wouldn't be caught dead trying to flower Sally. Was 23. I see. Yeah, and like I said, yeah, there were young couples and stuff like that, like Romeo and Juliet, but those were written at a different time. You gotta remember that too. And again, I'm holding it to the same standards that where I live, age of consent is 18. Wait, I'm not gonna question that. I'm not gonna look deeper into that. There's no need for that. I'm just saying. And I do believe actually the youngest in the U.S. is supposed to be, what, like 16? I don't know if it's 13. Somebody needs to fact check that. But anyway, it's like anything where it's like, don't bring these things up. We don't need that. And yeah, it just keeps going further and further, where you read these comments, like this whole thing started because you complained you couldn't write a story of Sally losing her virginity, and, you know, Ken Penders is trying to defend himself. Again, you're twisting the whole thing into a pretzel. I merely said one story I couldn't do where Sally was being deflowered by Geoffrey. Geoffrey. That's not a complaint, but rather an observation of fact. There is a difference, a huge one. And here's where my thought process is. Why did you feel the need to share this observation, though? And he states, it was a simple, off-the-cuff observation inserted during a discussion people were having concerning Sally and Sally's romantic partners. I never envisioned the blow-up from such a simple remark. Again, when you're a creator, anything you say, your words, will be taken in and out of context. You have to be careful of what you say. If I were to say anything right now, off the cuff, and people took that thing that I said off the record and put it into multiple videos and spread it around YouTube, you know, Wolfie said this, and it's like, well, I did that to myself. You gotta be careful of what you say, because things like this can... Heroes rise again. That is not the song we need to be hearing right now. This doesn't involve Shadow. This doesn't involve Shadow at all. Shadow was not involved in this scandal. Anyway, I just realized that the fact I was like, oh, all hail Shadow. Like, yeah, all hail Shadow. Wait a minute. No, we're talking about Ken Penders right now. Appaloosa said it's 16 where you're from, but still it's a big no to have sex today. Just think about the fact that I only have to wait 2 years for the... Yeah, and again, we can get into the whole semantics of age of consent, the whole consent thing. There's all sorts of different things that factor into this, but the thing that we can't overstate enough is that this didn't need to be said. Like, it didn't need to be said. It's just something that, like, people are saying the comparisons to J.K. Rowling's, like J.K. Rowling. I guess J.K. Rowling's been, you know, saying different things about different characters that no one ever asked for. Just kind of leave everything at it as it is, that sort of thing, and it's just like, This is a Werewoof, so we take it out of context thing. It's just, when you're reading the words as they are put there, it's just like, what are we supposed to expect? Like, what are we supposed to expect here? Ugh. Anyway, now this whole thing has been taken into like a... I get it. There are Ken Penders defenders out there. And now people are trying to make it into a Ken Penders versus Ian Flynn thing, and it's like, no, I'm not gonna take it into that I don't want to take it into that, because right now I'm just talking about the subject matter at hand. I don't want to talk about... There are Pender defenders. There are. Like I said, there's a fan base for everything. If it exists, there is a fan base for it. Look at me. I have a somewhat small fan base. Who am I? I'm just some guy on YouTube. Everything has a fan base. So yes, there are Pender defenders, as I like to call them. And my point here is, Ken Penders is someone who really, it almost feels like this is kind of intentional, where it's like, it feels like he kind of just always wants to be in the spotlight, when, honestly, what he should be doing, if it were me, if I was Ken Penders' shoes. If I didn't want... And here's another thing, by the way, everybody, I want to mention this right now. Real talk to everybody on stream, YouTube and Twitch. I want you guys to realize this. When I do these videos, it's not because I'm trying to start drama. I don't want to demonize Ken Penders. I'm just trying to talk about the things that have happened and why these things have happened and stuff like that. I want to also state that I do not endorse harassment or death threats or anything on a person. Nobody deserves that. If you're going out of your way to harass Ken Penders and stuff like that on Twitter and stuff like that, don't do that. Don't. Just don't, right? This man has his own life, even though we don't like the things he does. Don't go out of your way. Don't harass this man, right? I don't care if you hate him. Just don't. So I want to get that out the way, so people don't say, well, you know, I came here from Wolfie's video, death to Ken Penders. Don't do that. Stop it. Don't do that. Your words can hurt people, so don't do that. Anyway, what I'm trying to say here, I forgot what my train of thought was here. It's the unnecessary information. Why not, if he's so focused on the Lara Crew, what the hell is this character's name? Lara Sue Chronicles, whatever this character is on over here. If he wants to focus so much on his book, why not focus on the book and stop bringing up things from the past that he worked on, like the Sonic stuff? I get it, he had a big hand in that stuff. But if he doesn't want the ear of the Sonic fandom constantly on him, don't engage the Sonic fandom, because he knows what the reaction's gonna be if he says something, especially something like that. Like, Wolfie, did you say harass Ken Penders? I did not say that, Appaloosa. Don't you dare. Yeah, it's like, if I were in his shoes, what I would do is focus intently on my book, my Lara Sue Chronicles book, and work on that instead of trying to actively engage in conversations where I'm technically not wanted, right? So, that's the thing. Triforce Kid has said he's not a fan of Ian Flynn, but he doesn't want him to lose his job or his livelihood. That's the thing. I'm not a fan of Ken Penders' issue 100 stuff, where he started doing all the weird relationship and everything. But I don't wish death on anybody. It's too extreme. I don't want anybody to lose their job and everything. But he got what he wanted. He got his characters. He got his own book now. Apparently, he hasn't produced a single issue yet, as far as I know. But like, why not work on your book? Why? It's like you've done so much damage to to Sonic as a whole. We really don't want to hear you or see you right now, you know? It's like you came in, you kicked the dog had broken ribs, we took the dog to the vet, the dog is slowly recovering, and as, you know, we're sitting here with our dog on our lap, we're petting the dog, here comes the door opening again, with his stupid cleats on, talking about, I'm gonna kick your dog again, or I'm gonna at least look at him very threateningly. Why? Go away. The dog is recovering, leave the dog alone, go mess with something else. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, that is the Ken Penders crisis, and for those of you wondering, the blowback from the Ken Penders deal, we have it here, are the Sega mandates. And again, this is all taken from word of mouth from higher up. We can't confirm one way or another the Ken Penders deal, but here's the mandates. Ken Penders like Christian don't know what they're doing. Yeah. It's just vile. Is he trying to buy Sonic? Okay, so here's the deal. So after, you guys may be familiar, there was a comic cover, the straw that broke the camel's back. Is Sweet seriously trying to play right now? No, we need to change that song again. There we go. So we had, after the, oh, it's alright, Sarah. I'm glad you enjoyed the Sonic Boom reaction videos while they were up. The problem is, the aftermath of the Ken Penders incident, we can still feel it to this day. In the current Sonic comics and the current Sonic media, and the current Sonic games even. After the infamous Sonic cover that you guys may be familiar with, let's see if we can find it. This is reset era, by the way, guys. You hear stage builder? What? Wait, what? That's weird. Yeah, this here. You guys may be familiar with this infamous cover. I believe this is supposedly one of the covers that broke the camel's back. Somehow this got to Sega, and Sega was like, what the freak is this? And, yeah. After this, this little thing right here, Sega came up with these mandates, and, as part of the legal settlement of the case, new and increased mandates from Sega Incorporated were put into effect in all the Sonic the Hedgehog related contents, including but not limited to games, television series, films, toys, and even comic books. For Archie Sonic the Hedgehog comics specifically as relevant to the legal case, the following mandates in effect are possible but not limited to as follows. So here are the mandates. Sega-specific original characters are not permitted to familiar relationships unless otherwise already established, like Cream the Rabbit and Vanilla the Rabbit, with some limited exceptions, aka Charles Hedgehog. ACP-exclusive characters like Sally Acorn, Rotor, Bunny, Antoine are permitted, however. So what this means, this is all legal speak. What was that? Oh, have you guys never seen this cover? Issue number 155 of the Archie Sonic comic series? Yeah, this is Sonic. Curled up in the fetal position, crying over the marriage of Princess Sally. I mean, look at this, guys. Look at it. Look at it. This is one of the reasons why Sega initiated these mandates, is because of this. The stuff that was happening in the comics that they weren't aware of, they kind of let Archie have free reign of what was happening with Sonic, and as a result, we had things like, what was it? Hang on, there were a whole bunch of things. For those of you who have not seen it, check out my Ken Penders videos. I've covered a couple of things, but we had things like a character getting food poisoning. There was a damn near biblical reference in the Sonic comic where Knuckles walked across water to lead his people into the safety of another place. And all of this is 100% true. We had just politics, crazy politics, murders and assassinations, all sorts of crazy things happening. Implied like sex and stuff like that. Love triangles, cheating. It was basically a soap. The comics kind of really went out of control when all it really should be is the expanded universe of Sonic and his friends taking on Eggman. That's not to say there were some cool things in there. We had later on when Ian Flynn picked up comics, we had different things brought back in from the past, like Honey the Cat and Breezy from the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Cool things like that happen after the fact. But I'm just saying, there were a lot of weird things happening, and Sega kind of initiated this. So they kind of tried to stop the expanded family universe that was happening, where we had people bringing in characters like, oh, this is Sonic's half-brother twice removed, and stuff like that. There was a genocide. We also had the big reboot that was basically a genocide of the universe. Everybody got wiped the freak out, except for like a couple of characters who remembered what happened. Use of Ken Penders' characters or any of his content from the pre-Super Genesis wave are forbidden. Although settlement grants ACP legal use of his creations under limited conditions, reasons for not doing so are disclosed by the public of either ACP or Sega Inc. as of this time. So this is another reason why we don't have characters like, what was it, Dr. Fintivius, which is a fan favorite, Scourge, stuff like that showing up. Because if Sega or Archie, or I guess IDW at this point, since Archie doesn't work on them anymore, wanted to use those characters in question, they would have to go through Ken Penders and pay him settlements. Tons and tons of money to use those characters, and at that point, it's not worth it. Might as well create new characters, right? Yeah. Fintivius and Scourge, there's a whole bunch of, I did the whole list of characters that we are no longer able to see because of this. Sonic's Lost Son, Long Lost Son. This music though, I know, right, Ruckus? What else? Content from certain games are not permissible. Yeah, for some reason, Metal Overlord from Sonic Heroes wasn't permissible in the Archie comics, but he was in the IDW comics. He showed up real early. Black Doom from Shadow the Hedgehog, and all characters and contents, with the exception of original Sega characters, from Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood. Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood was when the lawsuit happened, because a lot of parallels to the Archie comics at the time, such as the use of the Twilight Cage and the Echidna showing up. Ken Penders thought that was an affront on his characters created from the Solos Knuckles book, and yeah, sued the crap out of EA and BioWare. And this whole thing happened afterwards. Whew. Hang on, I need some water. This is like going through this is just, yeah. Ugh. Moving on. Oh yeah, and Sarah. For the you asked, the only ones we were able to see are Sally, Bunny, and Antoine. And wait, Sonic has a son? Yes, he did. Ken Penders wrote something called 25 Years Later, in which I read this on a wiki, so I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. You guys can, validate this. But I believed in the future it was Sonic had kids with Sally, Shadow became a dictator, and Knuckles had, tons of children, and there was, weird things happening off the... just weird stuff. I remember reading them a long time ago, and it was really, really bad. Okay. No more echidnas. Ruckus, you know what that was? It was like the, what was that story? House of M. It was the House of M for Sonic. It was like House of S. And then, Super Sonic muttered, no more echidnas, and that was it. Mobius 25 years later, that's the one. That was apparently supposed to be canon. Shadow and Sally also got married? Oh god, seriously? I didn't know that part. Okay, replacing set, here's another mandate. When Sonic lost his kids, it became homeless. There was also 30 years later, but that was created by Ian Flynn. Oh, huh. Didn't know that. Sonic and Sally had kids, Knuckles had a lot of kids, and the Genesis Wave retconned all of it. There was a Black Doom clone in the Sonic Universe comics where the Black Comet comes back. Yeah, wow. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know. I'm gonna have to read these books someday. The future got changed as Sonic was living in the gutters. What? What the heck? I gotta read these comics someday. There's some crazy stuff happening that even I didn't know of. Here's another mandate. Replacing said characters to post-incarnations, however, is permissible. Maximilian Acorn to Nigel Acorn. I guess Nigel was the replacement for Maximilian? I don't know. Archie Comic Publishing are forbidden to reference Sonic the Hedgehog movie, Sonic Underground, or Sonic X unless granted specific permission from Sega Incorporated. So that was to protect their characters, their original owned characters from other media. We don't want to risk losing the rights to use the Old Man Owl from Sonic OVA, or Sarah from Sonic OVA, or Manic or Sonya. God forbid we lose those characters to Ken Penders. And Chris Thorndike. People love Chris Thorndike. Expo said actually Sally was forced to marry Shadow, and then Sonic was presumably killed. Was that in 25 years later or 30 years later? What happened? You should play... Crystal said I should play Sonic Chronicles music in the background. Brilliant. Crystal, your wish is my command. Sonic Chronicles music is very fitting for what's happening here. Hang on. I'm learning something. People are learning something. We're all learning something right now. Hang on. Sonic Chronicles OST coming right up. There it is. Here we go. No, this is way too high quality. No, this is way too high quality. Oh, this is the remastered. Some poor soul tried to remaster the Sonic Chronicles sound effect. I was gonna say, this sounds way too good. Yeah, this sounds like a MIDI compared to the, xylophone, off-key xylophone that was the original soundtrack. Nah, this is too good. That sounds too good for what we're talking about. I need the real thing. Oh, this is also remastered. Damn it. I can't find the original. Where the hell is the original? Hang on, I'll find it. Sonic Chronicles music? Come on, baby. Is that it? Yeah, there we go. Oh, it hurts so much more when it's Sonic CD music too. There we go. That's the crap I need right there. Yeah. Someone said Sonic Chronicles had music? Yeah. If you can call this music. Oh boy. There we go. Now I'm getting into the Ken Penders spirit. I'm sorry. This music sounds so bad. I can't believe this is actually in a game. Anyway. I can't focus with this music. It's making me laugh too much. Use of Ken... Wait. Okay. Okay. ACP, so ACP, for those of you who know, is Archie Comics Publications, is forbidden to use characters Dr. Eggman Nega, unless specifically granted permission from Sega Incorporated. So, don't touch that character anymore. Sonic's home planet is no longer permitted to be referred to as Mobius, be it light or dark, prime, or otherwise. So, for those of you that don't know, Mobius was the Americanized name for it in the old SatAM Adventures of Sonic, and I believe it kind of carried on through other medias. So Mobius, I guess, is no longer the planet names, even in current incarnations of Sonic. Yeah. Verseal, that is indeed the case. We are no longer allowed to call it Mobius anymore. These are the Sega mandates. Can Amy Rose still use Mystic Melody legally without a lawsuit in the comics? Probably. Okay. What else? Only one Metal Sonic is permitted for appearance, but no multiples, so no clones. With the exception of the character Nicole allowing affected characters to remember the previous universe, these memories are forced to fade to be rendered irrelevant. AKA, don't bring up the past. It's not allowed. Character depictions, such as Classic Sonic, Classic Tails, Classic Eggman, or any classic depictions of Sega characters are not permitted unless permission is given directly from Sega Incorporated. However, some ACP publications have shown cases of classic characters in the shadows, silhouettes, or bear resemblance to them in flashbacks. With the 25th anniversary of the Sonic franchise, however, this mandate appears to have been lifted. So yes, it has been lifted, but there's another thing on that. Sonic, okay, this is the big one right here, guys. Here is the biggest one, the biggest blow to the Sonic franchise, I feel, and I'll talk about it in just a second. Sonic's from an unnamed planet, yeah, right? That's gonna be in the movie, huh? This made Sonic Game Gear cry. You know that's bad, right? Game Gear music has better music than this. Sonic is not allowed to lose. He can be put down and experience hardship, but is not allowed to completely fail. You're probably wondering, oh, that's not too bad, right? Wrong. This is probably one of the worst mandates that happened as a result of the Ken Penders things. So, here's why. A character not being allowed to lose makes them not so much of a character anymore. And here's what I mean by that. Think about your favorite characters. Think about their story arcs. When a character is not allowed to lose, they're not allowed to experience hardships, they're not allowed to experience sadness. I believe there's also another one in here where he's not allowed to cry. There it is. Where is it? Sonic and Sega exclusive characters are not allowed to show excessive emotion. So, excessive crying is a no-go. You're probably also saying, that can't be too bad too. Who wants to see Sonic crying? Wrong. Do you remember the heartfelt ending of Sonic X Season 3? The Meta X Saga? You guys remember what happened to Tails? Or, I guess, yeah. Remember what happened to Tails in that? Oh, God. That scared me. Remember how that ending was very effective because Tails was crying and Sonic had to comfort him? Can't do that anymore. You can't have your characters cry or lose. It's bad. It's like you can't have your character not lose because it's like they're never gonna be a character after that. Remember, also, this probably applies to Sonic Forces. Do you guys remember that infamous line that Sonic was being tortured for 6 months? And then afterwards we cut to Sonic in a jail cell talking to Illusion Zavik. And Sonic's okay, like, he's cracking jokes. He's okay. And everybody's like, shouldn't Sonic be a little bit messed up? Or at least, you know, and people are crediting that to a bad translation on that line. Maybe they were supposed to say Sonic's been held captive for 6 months, but the line torture was brought up. And for me, that mandate kind of falls hand in hand with that, where Sonic's not allowed to be shown in, like, any seriously bad situation. Appaloosa said, why do I feel like I'm listening to a description of metal music? It's like... he just stood there with his eyes closed. Yeah. I'm just thinking about all the times that Sonic characters were allowed to play. Do you also remember the ending of Sonic Battle on Game Boy Advance? The ending of Sonic Adventure 2? All those moments where characters were allowed to emote. They felt like characters. Nowadays, what do? I mean, things happen to them, but they don't really experience sadness. They're just like, eh. Remember Sonic Lost World when Tails got apparently taken? And Sonic's like, I was fast, but I wasn't fast enough to save my friend. Wow, Sonic. You sure had some emotion there, right? The torture thing was unnecessary. If anything, he could have developed some sort of PTSD or OCD. I mean, yeah, it's like, I'm not asking for Sonic to show up and be like war-torn, have an eye patch and a scar on his chest and be like, I was tortured for 6 months. I'll never run as fast as I ever ran again. Tails, F Tails, he never came looking. I'm not expecting a dark storyline, but for the love of God, have Sonic be like, tired or something. Maybe Sonic has to sit out like a few levels or something like that. Maybe Sonic has some sort of like, I don't know. There's some sort of issue when it's like a character is immediately cracking jokes. Like, you're supposed to be feeling something, but I guess you're just gonna crack jokes, okay? That's fine. You want that so bad? No, don't have me write the Dark Sonic storyline. Sonic, 50 years later. Wow, the chat is going nuts. The main writers for the game, after Black Knight, Ken, Pontac, and Warren Graff are American. They're known as writers for Happy Tree Friends, and they knew nothing of Sonic prior. Oh, that could explain some things. Huh. Yeah, it's like... Where's the annoying crying picture? You know what, let's just put that back up on the screen real quick. There we go. While we talk about this. I'm saying there are two extremes, right? There's an extreme on which Sonic cannot emote, and there's this. You need to find that happy balance, right in the middle, where you can have them be characters. Just imagine, just pull up an example, the Marvel MCU, where characters felt an actual loss. We could connect with them and relate with them when they are actually sad, when they lost their friends. This might be a little too much here, but like, you know, everybody look at it, I want all of you to look at it. Torture can be mental or physical. Don't need them to cry, but at the same time, emote, for the love of God. And if Sonic can't lose, there's no stakes anymore, because we all know, oh, Sonic's just gonna come out on top. He always does. It's why Sonic 06, for as much crap as we give Sonic 06, if we leave out the whole Elise side story, Shadow's story was really, really good. It's probably the best Shadow story that existed after post-Sonic Adventure 2. I tweeted about that a while ago, where Shadow was basically given an ultimatum that, hey, in the future, you're gonna get effed up. Humanity will turn on you. You're gonna get sealed away. Why not? You have all the right in the world to take revenge, Shadow. And Shadow basically says, F that. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do since the start. I'm gonna fight like I always have. And he has that badass moment where he takes his rings off and you're like, oh yeah, that's so cool. Shadow had a character arc. He had a story. Not anymore. Shadow just kind of shows up and he's always like this in the background now. And it's just like, Shadow, you gonna do something back there? Or are you just gonna have your arms folded? Alright, cool. Yes, everybody can agree. Shadow's 06 story was great. The game was not, but yeah. Different writers, I understand that too, yeah. But maybe the issue is the writing, right? Maybe we just need different writers. That could be it too. Ooh, this music though. Oh boy. Dutchy in the YouTube chat says, one emotional moment I loved in the pre-reboot was when Ant sacrificed himself to save Elias from Metal Sonic. The story and the after effects hurt so good. I heard about that, where Antoine, like, did this big heroic sacrifice. I remember that. I remember reading about that. I was like, Antoine did that? That's sick. What a character arc for that character. I feel Shadow's weakest story was in his own game. Right? Where aliens all of a sudden showed up. He had amnesia. Oh, boy. Anyway. You know it's bad when, you know it's bad when I'm talking about Ken Penders stuff, when I'm saying good things about Sonic 06. Original Sega characters are to conform. Stay conform to the modern designs of the Sonic the Hedgehog as of issue number 71, and are not allowed to go off the status quo. So, if you guys are wondering why Amy is perpetually chasing Sonic for the rest of time, and Sonic is never allowed to, recoup those feelings, that's why. We're just stuck. And I understand where the mandates came from. I can definitely see that. If I saw this kind of crap happening, I can definitely understand that. My issue is, it's kind of hypocritical for Sega to put these mandates in when they themselves have not really been putting out quality Sonic content for a while. And I'm gonna elaborate further on that thought by saying, you know, while this is definitely bad for the Sonic brand, you know what's worse for the Sonic brand? The games being bad. Maybe work on the games and get them up to the quality that they should be before you start mandating how the other Sonic medias are, you know, handled. You know what I mean? When you're pumping out games like Sonic 06, Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic Boom, I guess that wasn't them, Sonic Boom, I'll give them a pass on that one, but like, Lost World was mixed, Sonic Forces, while not 06, was just kind of back down the rabbit hole of, oh no, here we go again. Why, you know, why not get your games better before you start trying to say, you can't do that in the comics, that makes Sonic look bad. Sega, you just a few years ago you had Sonic plushies hanging from a string in Hooters stores in Japan. You'd never see another mascot character. You'd never see Mario like hanging from strings in a Hooters in Japan. You wanna know why? Because Nintendo handles their brand. They care about Mario. You'd never see Mario get caught dead in some sort of crap like this. Meanwhile, Sega's waving their fingers at other things. Can't have modern Sonic and classic Sonic crossover. You can't have Infinite show up. It's like, the comics for a while were better than the games were. The Sonic Boom show was better than the games were. It's just weird. Anyway, that's my little mini rant about the mandates, and Phil Lord and Chris Miller should write for a Sonic game. That would be sick. That would be really cool. Nintendo had a love hotel back then? Oh yeah, they did. But they didn't use Mario to promote it now, did they? They're trying to put Sonic under a glass case, be a character with no emotions. Mario's like that even when he's showing more emotions lately. Yeah, and that's to say Mario is kind of static in a way too. But one thing you can't say about Mario is, yeah, but at least his, you know, his games are good. Not a third party, so Sega has never said anything officially about the mandates. Well, that's true too. But I think it goes without saying, when things haven't been showing up and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure these mandates, some of them are true. There has to be some sort of validity behind them when things like, have you seen any of these things not be true so far? Oh god, this music, this one's really bad. What is this? This is the, oh, if you lose the battle, this is the theme you hear. That's really bad. Hang on. Alright, there we go. Anyway. Yeah, if you guys are wondering why Infinite has not shown up, Ruckus, don't you worry, I know about the Nocturne song. That's coming. Infinite has not been able to show up, apparently, quote-unquote, is because of these mandates. It's hard to say at this point, because, hey, he's not in Team Sonic Racing, and he hasn't shown up in the comics, and Ian Flynn supposedly said the reason is because of the mandates. We don't know if it's true or not, but hey, it's all we got. Whisper is the embodiment of the new rules forced on Sonic and his friends with no emotions. I like Whisper, though. The song is alright. Yeah, it's a little catchy. It's like a really crappy version of the Wii channel theme. Yeah, and it's like Shade and stuff like that haven't shown up ever after that fact, too. Mandates are not official, they never publicly disclosed by Sega. Here's the thing, Triforce Kid. Even if they were or weren't official, Sega probably wouldn't want that public information out anyway, because that's not up to us to see and decide. That's for the people who are working with the Sonic medias. There's people who are working on the games, the comics, the shows. They would be able to see the mandates if there are any at all. Sega wouldn't publicly put that out there. It's like, well, then again, I'm trying to think. Because there are also mandates that aren't officially public but are well known by the public, such as the Disney mandates that have been put out, stuff like that. Ooh. This track though, hang on. Oh, this is a good one right here. Oh, that's good. This is a really good one. Okay. How would you feel if Silver had a spin-off game? As long as it doesn't involve pushing balls in a desert, I think I'd be okay. There's a lot of things that companies don't want people, the public, to know about that's already public knowledge and stuff like that. I'm not saying it's official one way or another, but I am reading what has been said thus far. Alright. What are mandates? Mandates, my friend. Don't forget Tangle the Lemur. Tangle, I would never forget Tangle. Tangle's like my big favorite. Alright. Excuse me. Comments are going by too fast. I'm trying to read these comments, but they're going by too fast. Anyway. Oh, for those of you who don't know, this is from Sonic 3D Blast. It's very unfamiliar. It's very unrecognizable, but this is a good one. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this Ken Penders discussion. I just wanted to quickly bring up this conversation of why. You know what? I might as well call this. Why bring this up? This is what this new section is gonna be called. Why bring it up? I love this. Sent Sonic to Dr. Phil's ranch. Play Sonic 3 music? Well, before we get out of there, we need to listen to the best theme from Sonic Chronicles as we end our Ken Penders discussion. There we go. Good is a strong word. There we go. Alright. But that needs to be said. If you can't recognize that, this is the Sonic 3 final boss theme. I'm gonna call this new section, Why Bring It Up? Featuring Wolfie. Okay, so that being said, all this came from the fact that Ken Penders had to open his mouth about something no one was asking about. Whether you feel on Ken Penders, whether you like his stuff or don't like his stuff, it's just we didn't really need to hear that. And that's it. That's all that needs to be said. Okay. I think we're done with the Ken Penders discussion. As of now, I'm hoping like a lot of people, that the IDW comics, it's still early in the IDW comics right now, so we can't expect them to go out of their way and do these giant stories with multiple, you know, characters and arcs, and by the time when the Archie comics ended, we were 200 plus issues in, so like, by that point, we had hundreds of characters and hundreds of stories to draw from. IDW is just getting started. Give it time. If you're thinking the IDW comics are boring right now, give it time. Give it at least 50 issues, you know? It takes time for a comic to really build itself up. I'm giving it a fair shake. We got some spin-offs coming. We got Tangle and Whisperer spin-off coming soon, so give it a shot. Yeah, we also got like different new characters showing up. We had Dr. Starline, what was it? Rough and Tumble, Tangle the Lemur, Whisper the Wolf. There's one more. When's the next issue released? I think it's gonna be if my subscription to my local comic book thing is anything to go by, it's probably gonna be next week-ish. But we shall see. Here's what I'm really hoping for with the IDW comics. Since IDW tends to do a lot of crossovers, I'm hoping we'll see Sonic crossing over with some of the other IDW properties. What's up, Phantasm Wolves? Welcome to the stream. Alright. Sonic cross Teenage Mutant, that would be sick. Alright. Let's go ahead and, And the worst part, some of these battle themes were actually kind of cool. It's everything else that wasn't. Let's move on to the next part of the discussion here, guys. And it's fine to take your kids to see it, but it's like, they had that mentality of, it's animation, it's for kids. And it's like, sure, I guess. Anyway. The Lion Kings are painfully cheesy. Oh, I love it. I love them. I grew up on that. But, this is how I feel after doing this whole stream here. Guys, I appreciate everybody popping in for the stream today to talk about Sonic stuff, Ken Penders stuff, and a little bit of Lion King. Even though I got copyright struck. I tried to make up for not having the stream last week by doing a stream today. It's been a true pleasure to do this with you guys. Man, if this image doesn't speak volumes, right? I'm going to go ahead and end the stream for today, guys. I will see you guys maybe this Friday, depending on what's going on. Is there anything else? Oh, what's that? It's time for a shameless show. If you guys have not followed the channel already, if you're brand new to the channel and you've been lurking in the background, you like me, you like my content, anything I've been doing, why not hit the follow or subscribe button? I do this every Friday and Saturday. This is not normal. A Monday stream is not usually normal, but hey, you gotta make up what you can do. And above all else, I appreciate everybody coming in to support the streams and everything. Everybody who gave me supportive words on Twitter that one time I tweeted out what was happening and everything. Means a lot to me. Thank you guys so very much. What was that? Oh, that was a bit donation. Again, thank you, Ruckus, for... Give it a second. Thank you, Ruckus, for the 10 bits. I guess Nightbot didn't want to play well with you. But yes, thank you all so very much for coming in today, guys. I'm gonna work on the next series of videos I'm gonna do. So, you just got banned? What? Nightbot needs to behave itself. Now it's going crazy. But, yeah. I'll see you all next time, so stay tuned, everybody. Let's go ahead and end with either credits. Yeah, credits.